Okay, I had a student from my classroom ask me to requested a video on how to do this problem. What it is, it's a forecasting problem, which is a very common problem you might do in business. And so let's just go ahead and read the problem. By the way, this problem came from Operations Management by Stevenson, the 12th edition. And it's a very good reference book for operations management if you're looking for a good reference book. I think a new edition came out, so you could probably get this one fairly cheaply used online. So anyway, so let's just go ahead and read the problem. It says a textbook publishing company has compiled data on the total annual sales of its business text for the preceding 9 years. And it gives you the thousands, I guess thousands of dollars in sales over 9 years. And it asks us to use an appropriate model to forecast the textbook sales for the next 5 years, so years 10 through 14. And it wants us to prepare a control chart for the forecast errors using the original data, using 2S limits, and then finally, supposing the actual sales finally comes in for the 5 years you forecasted, as follows. You want to know if that forecast is adequate and explain. So I went ahead and took all this data and put it down here and restated it. And so let's go ahead and work with that. If you have the textbook, you can go to the website for you can actually go to the website for the textbook and download this data if you want to. But this is pretty easy to type in by hand if you want to work along with me. You can pause the video right now and just type that in. But anyway, so first of all, whenever you're forecasting, it's always a good idea to get a look at the data. So I'm going to take this data right here, and I'm going to do what's called a scatter plots. I'm going to go to the Insert menu, and then go to Charts. I want to go to XY Scatter. And I'm going to do this first one without any lines or anything. And it gives us this nice little chart. Now, what you normally on a chart like this, if you're going to presenting it to your clients or presenting it to your employees or manager or whatever, you probably want to add a little bit to this chart. So we could go to this, we can go Access Titles here. And if I click on this one and I go to the equal sign and go up here and put an equal sign, this is actually going to be the sales. So I'll just click on here and enter. And I can click on this one and go up here and click the equal sign. And this is going to be the year. Okay, so this is the year and the sales. And so why do we want to plot this? Well, you want to see, well, is it going to be linear? Is it a curve? What type of what type of shape do we want to try to put to this? And of course, that looks pretty linear, right? There's not really a curve in it at all. So probably the best type of shape you could fit could be a line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on one of these dots. And when I'm over the dot, I'm going to right click. And I'm going to go Add Trend Line. And you can have different choices. Like I could click Exponential. It does put a little curve there. Or you could put Linear. And when you put that curve, you can actually go down here and put Display Equation and Display R Squared. It actually shows you, as you do it, which one's going to be. Now I think I put a line. Yeah, so we did a line. That's what we wanted to do. So it tells you the equation in the form of y equals mx plus b. So it says for every year you take it times 4.0183 and then add 35.797. That should forecast what your sales are going to be that year. Now another way you could do it. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go equals a, because that's the one we're working on. Another way you could do it is you could actually calculate. This is called the slope, right? M is the slope. So you could say equal. We could calculate the slope. Let me type slope. I go equal slope. And it wants the known y's, which is the dependent variable, which is the sales in this case. And the known x's is the years. And that's going to give us the same number we have here, 4.0183. And then we can do the intercept. And that's going to, for the Excel function, will be equals intercept. And you're going to highlight the known y's and the known x's. And that gives the intercept. And that's going to give you the same numbers there. Okay, let me put the formulas in here. All right, so those are two easy ways to get it there. You could actually do it the long way too, but I'm not going to do that in this video. So now we're ready to do our forecast. So let me go ahead and copy this down here. And I'm going to paste it. And we have the sales, but now I want to do the forecast. I guess we'll say forecast sales in thousands of dollars, I guess. It doesn't say whether it's dollars or units. We'll just say thousands. And so we're going to go for the next 5 years is going to be, I can take these two and highlight them out. 5 years will be out to 14, right? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And for the forecast, I can say it's equal to, so remember my forecast is going to be, now this would be y hat, right? Really, because a lot of times they'll call it y hat, is equal to m, which is a slope. I'm going to hit F4 on that to put dollar signs in front of this. You can type the dollar signs or hit F4. And that's going to make it, when I copy this down, it'll always point on that. And then times the years, okay, plus the intercept, and then I'm going to hit F4 again. And that gives us the forecast for the next, the linear forecast for the next 5 years. So a lot of people would not feel comfortable forecasting this far out, right? You might feel comfortable forecasting a year or 2 years, but forecasting that far out, the more likely you're going to have a problem here, okay? So this is the answer. So let me put the formula here. Equals formula text. Okay, and those are all the same formula. And so this is the answer. Okay, so now we've answered A. So we forecast 10 to 14 using an appropriate model. We decided the appropriate model would be a linear forecast, right? And the R-squared is very high. Now the R-squared, that's, if you remember from your stats, that's called the coefficient of determination. And the closer that is to 1, the more the variation in Y is explained by the variation in X. So this looks like it's a pretty good model because it's very close to 1. Okay. So, all right, so we've answered A. So now let's do B. I'm going to go sideways here so I can keep all these on the same screen, or on the screen so you can see them. So B, we want to prepare a control chart for the forecast errors. You want to use plus or minus 2s. So I could go over here again. I'm just going to start, I could do it on this chart, but just to be clear, I'm doing something else. I'm going to go ahead and put it here. And we could do the same forecast that we did here. So I'm going to take and copy this and put it here. You can see that that's pointing, it's using the same formula. Since it's relative, it does the same thing. And we don't want that yellow, right? So I'm gonna copy this format to here. Take it down like to 1 decimal again. And then copy that down. Oh, go here and double click. And again, I'm going to go copy, paste. So those are my forecast sales. All right. And all I did is I just used this equation to forecast. So this was the actual sales. And this would be if we didn't have the sales and we just want to forecast it from the year. Even though we already know it, this is what it would be. So we want to do something called the error. So how far away are we from the forecast? So basically we want the vertical distance between each one of these lines and points. And here you can see the biggest error is going to be here probably for around year 6. And so this is the actual, and the forecast was lower. So the error is going to be negative in this case, right? Because the forecast is lower than the actual. So basically it's going to be equal to, the formula would be equal to the forecast minus the sales. So it's a negative 0.4. And then we'll go ahead and take that down. All right, and we can see year 6 is the biggest because the actual is here and the forecast was 2.8 bigger, right? So this is the error. Okay, so it's this minus this. So how different was my forecast from my actual? And so The next thing we want to do is we're going to do the error squared. And I'm going to notate it like that. So that's this be equal to this to the second power. And take that down a couple places. Now it's kind of silly to have it out that many units, out that many places, right? So take it down to like 4 places or something. Don't need that many places. Okay, and so that's all your errors. Now one thing, if you did this right, these should sum to 0, right? But that's not where. This should sum to 0. This shouldn't sum to 0. So if you sum this, it's 15 point. But the error should sum to 0. That's just the way it works. All right. So that's kind of a check. But this is what we're looking for. So this is the sum of squares. That's what this is called, the sum of squares. And we want to calculate something called MSE, the mean squared error. And the mean squared error is equal to, well, you know, let me go ahead and get this formula over here so you can see what I'm doing. So remember, it asks us to calculate plus or minus 2s. So we want to calculate s. Okay, and s is the square root of the mean squared error. And your book, the way it does it, the mean squared error is equal to this divided by the number of years minus 1. Now technically you probably should do minus 2 because there's 2 degrees of freedom. But we'll just do it the way the book does it here. And so the mean squared error is so basically all it is a sum of these. Remember the name mean stands for average, right? But mean squared error is basically, this is a squared error. So you take the sum, just like you're going to take the average of something and divide it by how many. But you have to divide by 1, and it has to do with something called degrees of freedom. So you're actually dividing by 8. The other thing we want to do is you make sure this is the denominator, so you want to make sure there's parentheses around it. So it doesn't divide this first and then subtract 1. You want to have 8 in the denominator, so you got to put parentheses around it. So now we can do, we can calculate s, which is a square root. S is a square root. Do an equal sign, equals SQRT of this. And now we finally have S. So now we can go over here and we can, remember what we're trying to do, we're trying to prepare a control chart with plus or minus 2s. So we know minus s, we'll say I'm going to put a little apostrophe because I'm going to start with a minus sign. And if I don't put an apostrophe, I think it's going to be math. So I'm going to go minus 2s. And that's going to be equal to 2. I'll say it's equal to a negative 2 times this. I'm going to go ahead and F4 it. And that's going to be the negative, that's going to be a lower control limit. And we're using Z of 2 here. If you look here, it says these are 2 and 3 are typical values for Z, approximately 2. So, and then the mean, well, I told you the mean of these are going to be 0, so I can just put 0 here. And then plus 2s, then we go apostrophes plus, so I can put that plus in there, 2s. And that's going to be equal to 2 times this again, and then I'm going to F4 it again because I want to copy it down. And now finally I can make a control chart. So to do the control chart, I'm going to highlight the years. And then if I want to highlight non-contiguous data, I have to hold down control. And I'm going to go over here and highlight these 4. Okay, and then finally what I can do, I'm going to go to Insert. And I'm going to insert a line chart. And let's go ahead and okay, that's not doing it the way I wanted to do it. Let's try see how the scatter. I don't think the scatter is going to work. Okay, I guess the scatter looks better, but it's missing something here. Oh, I'm missing the errors. Okay, I'm gonna hit delete. Let me do that again. I forgot something. It's going to be this. And it's going to be the error. And then it's going to be these four. You have to plot the errors too. All right, so let's try this again. So I'm going to go insert a line chart. And I guess this one would be good. So this is a control chart. We can call it a control chart. And the only thing we want to do, we want to edit this chart a little bit. So I'm going to go to select data. And the year, I want to remove it. And then here, I want to use the year as a label range. I guess we better delete it first. And I'll just put these. Then go OK. All right, and OK. So now we can see this is the lower control limit. I guess I could call this lower control limit and upper control limit, and see how that changes it automatically here. And you can see, so basically we could prepare the control chart right here using plus or minus 2s. So this is plus 2s minus. This is plus 2s. This is minus 2s. This is the errors. And this is the years. So we have that all plotted here. So if our forecast is out of control, this is usually going to be, this actually is a little bit out of control because that 1 point is outside my upper limit. Another thing you want to watch out for if it's out of control, if all the data tends to be on one side, and that kind of is happening here a little bit. But anyway, so that's our control chart. That's all it asks us for. So now finally it says C. It says C. We have an actual forecast, and that's up here. All right, so that we could go here and put this in. So let me do it. What I'll do is I'll just go ahead and copy this again. So this is going to be C. Before I copy it, let me move this aside. So now let's do C, and let me copy this data again so you can kind of not. So copy, paste. So now we have years 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And our forecast, our actual is right here. So it's trying to put the forecast, it already did the forecast for us, which is kind of nice, right? And our actual sales is right here. So let me copy this. And then we can do our error again by sending this down. And the error squared by sending, we don't really need the error square because we're just going to use this to do our control chart. And so what I can do, I can plot this again. So I can highlight this. I know I'm going kind of fast, but I'm trying to keep this video a little bit quicker. And we have our errors. Let me get the labels to this. Hold down Control, get this. Keep holding it down Control, highlight those. Insert. And we do a line chart. I guess this is the one we did last time, right? We need to copy this down to be zeros, right? And then let's work on this chart a little bit. And we're going to go here to Design, select Data. Again, we don't want year here, so I'm going to remove it. I'm going to edit here and put the year here. So the year is going to be these. Let me delete that. Sometimes you don't delete it first. Let me try it again. Is these. Okay. Okay. And then, so you can see we have our 9 years. And let me put control chart here again. Whoop. And let me drag this out a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. So what's happening to our forecast? Like I told you you want to go a couple more years. After the second year, we're out of control. Okay, so it's asking here for part 3, using actual data, was the forecast performing adequately? Well, we start going out of control. So at this point, you'd probably want to reforecast. So this, when you hit this, you're gonna probably say, okay, I need to redo my forecast and use my data up to year 12 and see if I can come up with a better forecast. Okay, so so that kind of gives you, as you're forecasting, when you should probably reforecast. So hopefully that makes sense. Now sometimes some people, this error, they'll have it the other way. They'll do this minus this, and that would actually flip everything, but it'd still be the same answer. But everything would be flipped. It'd be flipped horizontally. It'd have horizontal symmetry along the zero mean. So this would be going up here instead of down here. And this peak would be going down and up. But anyway, you get the idea. So hopefully that helps. I know that's a lot to cover. I covered a lot of stuff. I went kind of fast. So if there's something I didn't understand, you might want to probably pause the video and look. I'll try to go ahead and save a link to this spreadsheet in the comment section. And then my picture is going to come up right here. If you want to subscribe to my video, hit that, or I appreciate if you hit the like button if you like this video. If I get enough enthusiasm, I make more of these videos. So thanks for your time. Bye.